Beautiful people, welcome in as we are talking about the best pulse rifles to dominate PvE. Previously in this series, we did hand cannons, auto rifles, SMGs, and bows. Now we are moving on to pulse rifles, and for the next video in this series, we are going to be doing a special weapon class. I do have a poll on my community tab if you want to vote, but right now it does look like fusion rifles are going to be next up in the series. Like I said in previous episodes of this series, we are planning on doing every single weapon class. So if you have a favorite weapon class that you would like to see after the fusion rifles, go ahead and comment it down below and we'll eventually get around to it one day or another. And of course, before we hop in, guys, if you ever want to get your games and their DLC for a cheaper price, you know where to head. That is Instant Gaming, the top link in the description, along with their free monthly game giveaway that they do as a second link at the top of the description. They got you the deals to help finish your seals. And with the introduction portion out of the way, let us jump right in to the best pulse rifles to dominate PvE. And we're going to start the video off talking about the Darkness Affinity pulse rifles, beginning with Stasis. Now, of course, when using a Stasis or a Strand primary versus a kinetic primary, it is going to be doing 10% less damage. So just keep that in mind when equipping a Stasis or a Strand primary in the kinetic slot. It will be doing just a little bit less damage than a kinetic primary in that same slot. Now, the pulse rifle that I have chosen for the Stasis section is actually one of my favorite pulse rifles. High key, it's pretty good, and I am talking about none other than the Disparity pulse rifle, aggressive 4-round burst pulse from season 19. This pulse rifle definitely went under the radar in the season it was released in, mainly because the double special meta was really strong. That and the Ikelos SMG existed in that same season. A lot of people were focused on that, not a Stasis pulse rifle. However, nowadays with the double special nerf, pulse rifles might actually be a little bit better and a bit more viable, so you might see yourself getting some usage out of this bad boy. And even then, I still like the way this gun felt in my hands when shooting it, pulling the trigger. Definitely has a very nice feel, and for what it's worth, some really good iron sights. Now, if we pull up this gun's perk pool, you're going to see that it does have some perks that add to its nice fluid feel. In the third column for PvE, you may want to go with Outlaw or Rapid Hit. Me personally, on my Disparity in the background gameplay that you're seeing, I am using Rapid Hit in the third column, as Rapid Hit is going to basically allow any precision hits to temporarily increase stability and reload speed. Very useful on a pulse rifle, especially an aggressive 4-round burst pulse rifle, and that is going to combine very nicely with its fourth column Beast perk that I love. I love this perk. Good old Frenzy. I love Frenzy. After being in combat for 12 seconds, Frenzy is going to grant you 15% increased damage. Yes, please. 100 handling. Yes, please. And 100 reload speed. Also, yes, please. And keep in mind, Frenzy works and can be activated while this weapon is stowed. You just get so much bang for your buck with the Frenzy perk for just playing the game. I like to always describe Frenzy as a perk you can practically never go wrong with, but you also have some other options in the fourth column, mainly looking at Headstone. Rapid Hit and Headstone can be a nice combo for sure, especially on a harder hitting pulse rifle. And the other perk in the fourth column that you may want to check out, I mean, you can check out One For All. That is a 35% damage buff for 10 seconds for only hitting 3 enemies. But the other perk may be Desperado. It definitely has been nerfed, but reloading after Precision Final Blow will increase your rate of fire if you do want to go with that. Me personally, the role that I'm going to recommend for you on this pulse rifle is definitely Rapid Hit Frenzy, but that is a personal recommendation because I love myself some Frenzy. If you were not around during season 19 or you just didn't want to waste any of your time getting a pulse rifle pattern, then these days you're gonna have to get it from the Operation Sheriff Shield exotic mission whenever it is in the exotic mission pinnacle rotator slot, which you can find in the Legends tab. Definitely a really good pulse rifle and is one of my favorites on this list. All right, everybody, so now we're gonna move to the Strand pulse rifle, and to be fair, there's really not that many Strand pulse rifles to pick from at this current moment in time. You have a choice between the reprised Nightshade that dropped this season or the different times from season 21. In this video, we're going to be going over the different times rapid fire frame pulse rifle. This is the Taken pulse rifle from season 21. And I'll be honest, this weapon doesn't have the strongest, most absurd perk pool. It has a decent perk pool, but like I said, you don't have that many options when it comes to Strand pulse rifles in the game, at least right now. Now, for the different times, if we go ahead and throw up this rapid fire frame pulse rifles perk pool, you'll see that in the third column, you have the options between maybe like subsistence, maybe outlaw, and then you have stats for all sitting chilling right there as well. Although in the background gameplay, My Different Times definitely has subsistence. In the fourth column, you have the option between hatchling or adrenaline junkie. Not the most absurd perk pool. Unfortunately, there is no frenzy. Otherwise, I'd be preaching about frenzy. But your only real options in column 4 for perks would be definitely adrenaline junkie and hatchling. Golden tricorn could be okay, but the strand grenades really are more for utility rather than just like a fusion grenade, which can easily wipe some enemies out casually, or vortex grenade or lightning grenade, pulse grenade. Unfortunately, the darkness subclasses, their strong suit does not lie in their grenade choices, right? At least with adrenaline junkie, just by getting kills with this weapon, you can get up to a 33% damage buff, which isn't terrible. And then hatchling has some synergy with strand builds, but like I said, there's not the strongest amount of options when it comes to strand pulse rifles at the moment. It's either this or the Nightshade, and we're going to go with the different times. Now, let us segue over to the kinetic pulse rifle. Plus, we are going to have at least an honorable mention here. And the main pulse rifle that I would like to talk about for this section is going to be none other than the King's Fall pulse rifle. We are talking about the good old Smite Moraine. Probably has some of the cleanest sights on a weapon in the entire game. It's really perfect, I gotta be real with you. This adaptive frame pulse rifle was technically first introduced in 2015 when King's Fall dropped in Destiny 1, and it made its glorious return when King's Fall was reprised last August. This weapon actually has an origin trait that I do at least want to mention, that being none other than runneth over. Reloading near allies overflows the magazine. It's going to overflow it by 10% per ally within a 15-meter radius, up to a maximum of 50% increased magazine capacity. Not bad, not bad. You may notice I'm using an adept version of the Smite Moraine in the background gameplay, and that is because the curated role for the adept version of the Smite Moraine pulse rifle drops with Demolitionist and Firefly. That's a perk combo you actually cannot go wrong with. You literally cannot go wrong with that perk combo. And if we just go ahead and pull up this weapon's perk pool, you'll see that this bad boy does have some few other perks you at least may want to take a look at. Obviously in the third column, demos there. However, this weapon does have a nice little unique double damage roll, as it does have Focus Fury in the third column and then Vorpal in the fourth column. It also does have One for All in the fourth column and then Stats for All in the third column. So you could go for a Stats for All, One for All roll. You could go for a Focus Fury, One for All, Focus Fury Vorpal. If you really want a double damage primary, you do your thing, homie. Also, in the fourth column, it does have Adrenaline Junkie, making it a weapon that has both Demolitionist and Adrenaline Junkie at the same time. Very useful, nice roll. I know some people really like that roll, so I have to mention it. However, in my personal opinion, the most important roll, the best roll that I could recommend to you is definitely the curated roll for the adept version, which is Demolitionist and Firefly. Of course, you can also just go ahead and craft the Smite Moraine with the enhanced perks if you do not want to go chase the adept roll. I've just had an adept Smite Moraine sitting in my vault for a solid 10-11 months at this point. Now that I'm getting the chance to talk about it and use it, perfect time to whip it out. Now I did say that we do have at least an honorable mention here, and that is the Autumn Wind kinetic pulse rifle that just seems to drop like candy from the Crucible. The reason why I want to mention this pulse rifle is because it has one of my favorite rolls on any PvE primary, that is Demolitionist and Frenzy. The Autumn Wind is also a rapid fire frame pulse rifle, if that makes a difference for you. Both of these pulse rifles are really good. One drops from Crucible pretty consistently, and the other is a really good raid weapon. Although if I had to pick or choose one, I'm going to go with the Smite Moraine just because it has Demolitionist and Firefly. Although Autumn Wind is close. Demo Frenzy, awesome roll. Alright, now we are going to move over to the light affinity pulse rifles. We're going to start off with the Arc pulse rifle. Now this is kind of funny because we just got done talking about a raid weapon from King's Fall, so we're going to talk about a raid weapon from Oryx's Sun. That's right, if you put 2 and 2 together, you got 4. Or you got the Oversoul Edict, which is the pulse rifle that I have for the ARC slot. Of course, a pretty recent addition to Destiny 2. However, we all know that it has been in the Destiny franchise since December of 2014, when the OG version of Coruscant released. The Oversoul Edict in Destiny 2 is a rapid-fire frame pulse rifle, 540 RPM, and this bad boy does have a pretty monster perk pool. Like all the Crota weapons, it does have the Curse Thrall Origin trait, which means after defeating a target with a melee attack, final blows with this weapon will cause targets to explode like a Curse Thrall for a short duration. And if we go ahead and pull up the Oversoul Edict's perk pool, you'll see that there are some pretty decent options here. So in the third column of perks, you have a few options. Inline Action is a new perk added in Season 22. Weapon hits grant 10 handling and 10 reload speed for 2 seconds, stacks out to 5 times. We'll take some easy handling and some easy reload speed for just doing damage all day, every day. You also have choices between Demolitionist, you can never go wrong with Demo. And you also got Keep Away if you're shooting at a distance, although keep in mind, rapid fire frames generally don't have the strongest of range. Better than SMG, but not overly insane, right? It's a rapid fire. Now the fourth column is where some things get even juicier. You do have Adrenaline Junkie, so once again we have another pulse rifle here with Demolitionist and Adrenaline Junkie, both of which are from the father and son raids, right? Crota and Oryx. We just got done talking about the Smite Marine, which also has Demo and AJ, and the Oversoul also has it as well. It does have the new perk Sword Logic, which is a new damage perk. You can get a damage bonus of 15%, 25%, 35%, or 50% depending on the rank of enemy you defeat. Since you'll be killing primarily weak red bar minor enemies, you'll be getting the 15% damage buff most often. And the last perk that I have to mention in the fourth column, of course, is Volt Shot, man. Volt Shot is very nice on primaries, just adds to their ad clearing potential. And when you can combine it with a perk that boosts your reload speed, like Enlightened Action or Keep Away for that matter, it makes Volt Shot even better to use, easier to use. And you can definitely feel this thing juice out some chains and dispatch of some lower tier enemies with the Enlightened Action and Volt Shot roll, which is what I'm using in the background. Of course, Demo and Adrenaline Junkie is really good, Keep Away Volt Shot's really good, and maybe Demo Sword Logic or Enlightened Action and Sword Logic could also be a pretty good roll. You got a lot of good options when it comes to this perk pool, and this pulse rifle definitely feels really good to use. If you don't raid or you don't have this pattern, then the other Volt Shot pulse rifle that I'll recommend to you is the, I believe you pronounce it Phylactic Spiral, which is the Neo Muna pulse rifle. Oversoul Edict's pretty good in this game. Don't sleep on it and check it out. Alright guys, so now we're going to move over to the depths of space, stare into the void. Talk about our Void Pulse Rifle of choice, which I feel like I may get a little bit of flack for, but the Void Pulse Rifle of choice that we're going to be talking about is going to be none other than the Velis X. This was actually the ritual weapon from Season 19, meaning right now, if you don't have it and you want to get it, you just go buy it from the kiosk in the tower. Easy collapse. There really isn't an insane variety of Void Pulse Rifles to choose from. You have things like the Grid Skipper, which does have Frenzy, not terrible, and the Yesteryear from Gambit, but that perk pool is pretty fat, right? The Velis X has 4 perks because it's a ritual weapon, and its PvE selection of perks can combo pretty nicely with some Void style builds, with the likes of Repulsor Brace and Golden Tricorn, right? You also have the choice between, count them, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 origin traits. You have Hake Breach Armaments, Vanguard's Vindication, 1 Quiet Moment, and then Gun and Run. The Velis is an aggressive burst, hard-hitting 4 burst fire pulse rifle, 450 RPM, and it definitely combos really nicely with some Void 3.0 style builds. Having Repulsor Brace allows you to get yourself an overshield whenever you defeat a Void debuff target, which can be very handy. The overshield itself has 45 HP, allowing you to have some more survivability, especially if you combined Repulsor Brace with Devourer from the Void subclass. Very useful. It can definitely go to work. Unfortunately, there's not really other perks to talk about on this weapon because it only has 4 and only 2 of them are meant for PvE. And we really don't have that many options when it comes to Void Pulse Rifles like I said earlier. Maybe the Grid Skipper or the Yesteryear or some other options you could go for. But for the purpose of the video, the main one that I wanted to talk about was the Velis X, the Season 19 Ritual weapon. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we arrive at the last type of pulse rifle to talk about, that being one of the Solar Affinity. And we are going to be talking about incandescent pulse rifles. Those two being the BXR Battler from Dares of Eternity with the good old tried and true Demolitionist and Incandescent. Really nice combo. And if you're like me and you don't have that weapons pattern because you're not a fan of playing Days of Eternity over and over again, then fear not, because we have a consolation prize in the Jurassic Green, the Festival of the Lost pulse rifle. Yeah, you weren't expecting to hear that bad boy. Let me throw up the Jurassic Green spark pull up for you real quick so we can talk a little bit about it. In the first column, our main PvE perk of choice is going to be Subsistence. You could go with something else, but Subsistence is definitely the best PvE perk on this pulse rifle. And then in column 4, obviously you have your Incandescent, but you also have things like Frenzy, Adrenaline Junkie, and Golden Tricorn if you care. However, since this is a solar pulse rifle, we're going to go with Subsistence and Incandescent, which is on the roll you're seeing in the background gameplay. And if you were to ask me which one of the two is better, I would definitely say the Battler, just because you can craft it and it does have enhanced perks. And the Battler has Demolitionist in that third column and Incandescent in that fourth column. Demo and Incan is a pretty nice roll to go with. And we pull up the perk pool for the Battler, you'll see that its main PvE perks are Demo and Incan. Everything else is generally focused towards PvP, but that Demo and Incan roll cannot be ignored. I have to mention both of these pulse rifles for this section. If you don't have the Jurassic Green and you want to get it, Festival of Lost will be returning this month. So you'll have your opportunity to go ahead and earn one pretty soon if you haven't gotten one already. And obviously, if you want the Battler's pattern, you just got to go grind it out from Days of Eternity. Hope you get lucky with your treasure keys. They're both incandescent pulse rifles. They're both really good. That's why we have to mention both of them for the solar section of the video. And there you have it, everybody. That is the best pulse rifles to dominate PvE with. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on the list, as well as your personal favorite pulse rifles down in the comments below. Remember, the next video in this series is going to be a special weapon class, and right now it's leaning towards fusion rifles. So go ahead and comment down below which special weapon class you would like to see, and we'll definitely get around to it eventually. And of course, remember, if you ever want to get your games in their DLC for a cheaper price, check out Instant Gaming, top 2 links of the description. Thank you so much for watching the video. You guys be safe out there, consider subscribing, and we'll see you in the next one.